Imagine this. You're sitting across from someone you once trusted, someone you thought you knew, but now you see them differently. You know what they've done, you know the lies, the manipulation, the games they've played, and for the first time they know that you know. Watch closely. This is the moment everything changes. Their smile falters, just slightly. Their eyes search yours, calculating. The air between you thickens, no longer casual, no longer safe. They don't admit the truth, of course. No, that would be too easy. Instead, they react. Methodically, deliberately, because they have a playbook for moments like this. They deny, twist, manipulate. They make you look like the problem. They spread doubt, shift blame, and if none of that works, they try to make you afraid. Evil people don't panic when exposed. They strategize. And if you don't recognize the game they're playing, you might fall right into their trap. Today we're going to expose that playbook. 7 things evil people do when they realize you've uncovered the truth. 7 tactics designed to silence you, confuse you, and break you. But once you see them for what they are, you'll never be deceived again. Let's begin. They twist your mind in ways that are both subtle and insidious, like a slow drip of poison. You don't realize you've been drinking until it's too late. They take the truth, something solid and clear, and they bend it, stretch it, mold it into something unrecognizable. And they do it so effortlessly, so convincingly, that you start to question everything, your memory, your perception, your own sanity. It seems harmless. Maybe they correct you on a small detail, something trivial. That's not what I said, they insist with a smile. You must have misheard. And because you are rational, because you trust them, you give them the benefit of the doubt. You think, perhaps I did mishear. After all, memories can be tricky, can't they? But then it happens again and again. This time, it's not just about what was said, it's about what happened. That never occurred, they say, looking at you as though you've invented some wild fantasy. You're being dramatic, they shake their head, chuckle softly, act as though your accusations are absurd. Why would I ever do something like that? They ask with a tone of wounded innocence, forcing you to reconsider. The worst part is, you do, because they say it with such certainty, such conviction, that you begin to doubt yourself. Your mind rewinds, tries to replay the moment, but now it feels distant, clouded. Did you misunderstand? Did you overreact? Could it be that you've been too sensitive, too quick to judge? This is how they sink their hooks into your reality. They make you believe that the truth is something subjective, something flexible, something they have the power to rewrite. And once they have that control, once they have made you question your own mind, they can do anything. It escalates. The denials become sharper, more condescending. You always do this, they say with a sigh, placing the blame squarely on your shoulders. You're remembering things wrong, like you always do, and with that, they turn your own mind against you. Now you hesitate before speaking up. You second-guess yourself. Even when you're sure, absolutely sure of what happened, you hear their voice in your head, correcting you before you can even finish your thoughts. The truth becomes slippery, a thing you can no longer hold on to with confidence. This is how they win, not through force, not through open confrontation, but through the slow erosion of your certainty. They don't need to silence you. They just need to make you unsure. Because once you stop trusting yourself, once you let them define reality for you, they have you. And the worst part? You won't even realize it. Not at first. Not until the damage is done. Until you wake up one day and feel like a stranger in your own mind, questioning what's real and what's not. By then, they've already won. When confronted with the truth, evil people do not apologize, nor do they acknowledge their wrongdoing. Instead, they shift the focus entirely, transforming themselves from the perpetrator into the victim. It happens quickly, seamlessly, as if it was always meant to be this way. One moment they are being accused, the next they are wounded. Fragile. and suffering at the hands of your unfair words. They react as though your confrontation is not about their actions, but about your cruelty. "How could you think that of me?" they ask, their voice heavy with hurt. "After everything I've done for you?" And just like that, the conversation is no longer about what they did. It's about your supposed betrayal. The performance is flawless. Some will cry, their eyes brimming with just enough sorrow to make you hesitate. Others will take on a quiet, dignified suffering, their silence speaking volumes about how deeply you have wronged them. Some will lash out in anger, outrage that you could dare to suspect them. And no matter which version they choose, the goal is the same: to make you feel guilty. This tactic is effective because most people do not want to hurt others. You might have approached them with confidence, determined to hold them accountable, but now, under the weight of their wounded expressions and their careful words, you begin to feel like the villain. You start questioning if you were too harsh, if you misjudged, if perhaps you are being unreasonable. And that moment of doubt is all they need. They seize it, magnified, use it against you. They remind you of the times they were kind to you, the times they were there for you. "I would never do that to you," they say, their voice filled with disbelief. "You know me better than that." Now, the burden is on you, not them, to prove that you were right to confront them in the first place. If you persist, they may escalate. Perhaps they bring in others, telling them how you hurt them, framing you as paranoid, ungrateful, even cruel. They create a version of events where they are the suffering party, and you are the heartless accuser. The more you fight back, the worse it looks for you, and in the end, if they succeed, you are left questioning everything, while they walk away, untouched, their deception intact. When an evil person realizes that you know the truth about them, their first instinct is not to defend themselves but to go on the offensive. They understand that the best way to weaken your credibility is to destroy it before you even have a chance to speak. And so, they begin a quiet, calculated campaign against you. They start by whispering doubts into the ears of those around you. Perhaps they confide in mutual friends, family members, or colleagues with carefully crafted concern. "I'm worried about them," they say, shaking their head. "They've been acting strangely lately." Or maybe they paint a different picture. "They've been so angry, so unpredictable. I don't know what's going on with them." These words take root in the minds of those who hear them, subtly shaping how they see you before you've even spoken. Then comes the distortion of events. They retell the truth, but in a way that makes them seem like the victim. If you caught them in a lie, they say you misunderstood. If you call them out for their behavior, they claim you're being unfair, overly critical, or even obsessive. "I don't know why they're so fixated on me," they might say with a sigh, turning your genuine concerns into something irrational. If they sense that mere words aren't enough, they escalate. They seek out people who will listen to them without question, those who already admire or trust them. They play the role of the wounded party so convincingly that even those who once believed in you may begin to have doubts. And if they're truly ruthless, they don't stop at words. Perhaps they plant small, seemingly insignificant lies about you, stories that cast you as untrustworthy, unstable, or even dangerous. "I don't want to say anything bad," they might say, lowering their voice, "but I think they're struggling with something. I just hope they get help before it's too late." A sentence like that is enough to stain your reputation without them ever making a direct accusation. By the time you try to tell your side of the story, it feels like you are on trial. Every word you say is met with skepticism. People hesitate to take your side because they've already been conditioned to doubt you. And in the end, the truth becomes harder to prove, not because it isn't real, but because they got to the crowd first and poisoned the waters before you even arrived. When manipulation fails and deception no longer works, an evil person will resort to something far more primal: fear. They understand that intimidation can be just as effective as control, if not more so. Once they realize that you know the truth, and worse, that you might expose them, they shift their approach. The goal is no longer to convince you that they are innocent, but to make you afraid of what might happen if you continue down this path. The threats might be subtle: a change in tone, a lingering stare, a reminder of something personal they know about you. They drop hints laced with an unspoken warning. You wouldn't want to make a mistake you'll regret, they might say, their voice calm but firm. Or perhaps, people who stir up trouble don't always like what they find. These words hang in the air, heavy with implication. If you don't back down, their actions escalate. Maybe they raise their voice, slam a door, stand too close, their presence suddenly overwhelming. They want you to feel small, powerless, like speaking out will cost you more than it's worth. For those who fear social ruin, they threaten to expose secrets, twist narratives, or spread damaging lies. If they know you have something to lose, your reputation, your job, your relationships, they will dangle it over you like a blade. And if they hold a position of power, they remind you of it. They might say, "Do you really think anyone would believe you over me?" Or, "I have connections. This won't end well for you." It's not always about physical harm. Sometimes the mere suggestion that they could make your life difficult is enough. But for those who don't respond to psychological intimidation, the threats can become more direct. A car that seems to follow too closely, an anonymous message, a sudden and unexplained act of hostility. They want you to feel watched, vulnerable, unsafe. They don't need to act on their threats, they only need you to believe that they could. The fear does the rest of the work for them. And for many, this tactic is enough. The weight of potential consequences makes people hesitate, rethink, and ultimately withdraw. Not because they were wrong, not because the truth changed, but because the risk became too great. And the evil person? They walk away unscathed, their grip on power unchallenged, their secrets intact. When an evil person realizes that you know the truth, one of the easiest ways for them to escape accountability is to pretend they don't remember. It's a calculated move, one designed to make you feel as though you're chasing ghosts, grasping at something that was never there. They act confused, as if your accusations are absurd or baseless, and with every denial they chip away at your confidence in your own memory. It's subtle, a furrowed brow, a slight tilt of the head. "I'm not sure what you're talking about," they say, their voice steady, unbothered. If you press, they might let out a small laugh, shaking their head as if you're being ridiculous. "That doesn't sound like me," they add, placing a wall between themselves and their actions. It's not a direct lie, it's an erasure of reality, a way of making the truth seem flimsy. If you persist, they escalate. "You must be mixing things up," they say with conviction. "I think you're remembering it wrong." The stronger you argue, the more insistent they become, their confidence unwavering. They know that repetition breeds doubt, and the more they deny, the more likely you are to question yourself. Maybe you did misunderstand. Maybe you are mistaken. When that doesn't work, they shift tactics, acting as though your accusations are unreasonable. "Why are you bringing up old things?" they ask with a sigh, as if your insistence on accountability is the real problem. "It's in the past. I don't even remember it." Their forgetfulness is strategic. It makes them seem innocent, as if the event was so minor, so insignificant, that it didn't even register. Meanwhile, you're left feeling like you're making a big deal out of nothing. They take it even further. They don't just deny remembering, they act hurt that you would even suggest such a thing. "Do you really think I would do that?" they ask, their voice thick with disappointment. Suddenly, you're not just trying to prove what happened, you're defending yourself against accusations of unfairness. This false forgetfulness isn't about memory, it's about power. It's about shifting the burden of proof onto you, forcing you to doubt your own experiences, making you hesitate before pushing any further. And in the end, that hesitation is all they need to escape the consequences of their actions. When an evil person realizes that you know the truth, they sometimes take an unexpected approach. They become nicer, not out of guilt, not because they've changed, but because they see kindness as a tool, a last resort, to regain control over you. It starts subtly, a sudden compliment, a warm smile, an unexpected favor. If they've been distant or cold, they shift, becoming attentive and charming. "I was thinking about you," they say, as if nothing ever happened. Maybe they offer a small gift, something thoughtful enough to make you pause. Or perhaps they bring up an old joke, a shared memory, something that reminds you of the good times. They know that familiarity breeds comfort, and they use it to lower your guard. If gifts and flattery don't work, they might appeal to your emotions in a different way. I've been going through a lot, they confess. Painting themselves as troubled but misunderstood, they make you feel sorry for them, make you question whether they really meant to do harm. This tactic is especially effective because it plays on your empathy. You might begin to second-guess yourself, wondering if you misjudged them. Maybe they aren't as bad as you thought. Maybe they do care. But this shift in behavior isn't real change. It's manipulation, a temporary performance designed to make you forget, to make you stay. Because if they can't gaslight you, intimidate you, or make you feel guilty, they'll try something else, pulling you back in with kindness just long enough to keep you under their control. When an evil person realizes that you know the truth and all else fails, they disappear. Not in a literal sense, but in a way that ensures they avoid consequences, responsibility, or any form of accountability. They become unreachable, slipping into the shadows just long enough for the situation to lose momentum. They might ignore your calls or messages, acting as if they are too busy or distracted to address what's happening. They let days pass without responding, knowing that silence can be just as effective as denial. The absence creates doubt. Maybe they aren't avoiding you, maybe they genuinely have other things going on, but you know better. You see the pattern. When things were in their favor, they had all the time in the world. Now, when faced with the truth, they vanish. If they are confronted in person, they make excuses to leave. I don't have time for this right now, they say, brushing past you. Let's talk later, but later never comes. They dodge conversations, cancel plans, or suddenly have pressing obligations that keep them out of reach. They avoid being in the same space as you because they know that, in silence, there is no confrontation. And if the situation becomes too heated, they may take their disappearance to another level, cutting ties completely, acting as if you were the problem all along. They block you, remove you from their life, or spread the narrative that they had to distance themselves from you. They make it seem as though they were the ones wronged, painting you as obsessive, unreasonable, or toxic. For those who have power, influence, or a following, they retreat just long enough to let the storm pass. They wait in silence, letting time dull the urgency of the truth. People move on, get distracted, and slowly the weight of what they did fades. Then, once they feel it's safe, they return as if nothing ever happened, slipping back into their old patterns, ready to repeat the cycle with someone else. Their disappearance is not an admission of guilt, nor is it regret. It's a tactic, a way to outlast the consequences, knowing that most people will eventually stop fighting when their enemy is no longer present. Because, to them, escaping accountability is just another form of winning. Evil people thrive in deception, manipulation, and control. When they realize that you see through them, they don't admit, apologize, or change. They strategize. They twist reality, paint themselves as the victim, sabotage your credibility, intimidate you, feign ignorance, use kindness as a weapon, and, when all else fails, they disappear. Their goal is not just to escape consequences, but to ensure that you doubt yourself enough to let them go unchallenged. Recognizing these tactics is your power. The moment you see through them, the moment you refuse to play their game, their grip weakens. They rely on your silence, your hesitation, and your fear. But when you stand firm, when you hold on to the truth despite their efforts to erase it, you take back control. Not everyone will believe you, not everyone will see what you see, but truth has a way of enduring, even when lies try to bury it. Stay strong, trust your instincts, and never let an evil person make you question the reality you know in your heart. Good luck, and may you always stand in the light of truth. Thank you.